And welcome into the Thursday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Sponsored by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get it all. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Did you see that John Morant? It's posterized right behind your head right now on the TV. The John Morant dunk on Wemby.
I did not see it, but I'm looking at the still picture of it right now. It looks pretty nice.
Well, it didn't count, but it's one of the most disrespectful dunks in the history of basketball.
Why didn't it count?
There was a whistle. I think maybe he got fouled on the floor or something before. Is that it?
There it is.
There you go. I mean, it's absolutely.
Golly.
Oh, yeah. Ja, baby. Grizzlies are might be interesting. Might be interesting this year.
Hey, I'm here for it.
I am too.
I'm here for it. Keyser, what's going on? How we doing?
What's up, fellas? Doing good. Little tired still, but kicking it. Doing well.
Did you get any sleep last night?
Yeah, maybe not just adequate sleep.
Okay, all right. We'll have to work on that.
Yep.
Mine was also inadequate.
Mine's pretty adequate.
Good.
Pretty good.
One for three. Probably about average.
Yeah, probably is. Yeah. Probably is. We got a lot to get into on the program here today. Charles Robinson will be with us at 8 o'clock for his weekly visit, and a whole lot to get to on the Titans front and around the National Football League as well. So looking forward to our visit with Charles coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. Derek McKenzie, Predators assistant coach, will be with us at 7:30. Preds and Blackhawks tonight at Bridgestone Arena. Cool to see the Golden Hall yesterday. We'll get into all that a little bit later in the show as well. Joe, we begin with another day gone by and no news on the Titans coaching staff. And I want to get your thoughts on what Kuharski had to say on the show with us yesterday. So I asked Kuharski, why have we not heard anything about the coaching staff yet and some potential changes that could be made here? And look, it's not like Kuharski is in the building with them as they make these decisions, but his thought process on it was basically, well, I think they want to get the GM thing figured out, and then they'll worry about the coaching staff. Basically implying that they can't do two things at one time, which, hey, maybe this organization can. I don't know. I still, that's so weird to me. Like, I don't, frankly, really know what one has to do with the other. Like, is the new general manager coming in here, and the first thing you're going to ask that person to do is, all right, I want you to go back and watch film of all 17 games this year, and then we need to get in a meeting room, and here in a couple weeks we can make a decision on the coaching staff.
No, it's ridiculous. No way.
So what's the holdup? Like, what difference is the general manager hire going to make in terms of what Brian Callahan does with his coaching staff?
It doesn't make any difference. So, I mean, I guess it's just the idea of all focus is on this. But again, like I think PK said it, or maybe you said it, this should be Brian Callahan's choice. Now, again, if Brian Callahan says, well, I like everybody, so we're good.
Right.
So then I guess what's the response from above? But again, that's Brinker, or it's Amy.
Right.
Or it's Berserker. I don't know. But it's very weird that there's nothing. And again, like right now, you've got Mike Vrabel, for example, in New England looking to put together a staff.
Right.
You have other coaches soon to be. Who else right now is he the only?
I think he's the only one that's
he's the only new hire.
Yeah.
There's going to be a flood of them. Now, granted, okay, well, before that, you're fine, but there's also like there's college staffs. I mean, just if you're going to fire people, then you do right by them by doing it as early as possible. So maybe they won't. Maybe it's just that as simple as they're just not firing.
Well, I mean, I also asked Kuharski, like, could that be the case? Like, could it just be as simple as they've gone through their evaluation process, they've had their meetings, and the conclusion at the end of it is that they're not firing anybody? I mean, I agree with Kuharski from the standpoint of like that's pretty unfathomable given the way that this season went. Like, being the worst team in the league and going 3-14, like how often does the entire staff remain intact after something like that happens? Not very often. But it's getting to the point where I don't know if I can draw any other conclusion. Like, it's just, if it's not that, then it's just total nonsense as to what's going on here. Like, I don't really want to hear about the GM part of this. Like, to me, one thing has nothing to do with the other on this thing.
Yeah, the new GM, you talk about disrespecting Brian Callahan. Have this new GM come in and be like, well, let me tell you who you're going to fire, Brian.
Yeah.
What? No, that makes no sense at all. Regardless of, even if you believe that the new GM is, air quotes, a real GM,
Right?
Still, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you want to compare it to something, Rand Carthon came in. Like, can you imagine? Well, Rand's here, and now he's gonna advise Vrabel on who he should fire.
Yeah.
What? No.
That'd have gone well.
Yeah, but no, I don't understand. At this point, I'm starting to embrace the idea of no changes.
Which, I mean, we've kind of joked about that. Like, what would the reaction be if that's the case? But now, like, I don't know if I'm joking about it anymore. Like, what's the reaction going to be if they've gotten through this thing and they say, you know what? Another year of Colt Anderson, not making any changes to the offensive staff. I mean, then it really is what you've laid out there before, and that is Will Levis takes the fall for the offense, basically, and Rand Carthon takes the fall for the whole thing. And you're saying, you know what? The roster was a huge problem, which I don't think people would argue. The roster was a problem.
Sure.
Quarterback play was a huge problem, which, again, nobody's going to argue. It's a big problem. But those two are the ones paying the price. Will Levis has lost his job as starting quarterback. Rand Carthon's fired. We're bringing this whole picture back next year, and it's going to be a whole lot better in year 2.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be such a departure from this. I mean, it's a departure from the NFL norm, because there is just sort of this. I'm sure in some of the cases of firings of coaches, it's not like this person can't do the job. It's someone's got to pay, right?
Right.
So, and hey, maybe that's a bad way of looking at things. I mean, I think sometimes it is, but it has been that way, and it has certainly looked like people have just paid for bad performance in a lot of cases instantly. Just in this tenure with Amy Adams-Strunk as controlling owner. Again, you go back to Bobby April in 2016 in Houston, but even like Ackerman finally, after Vrabel staunchly defended him for a long time, all of a sudden, yeah, Craig, we're moving on. That kind of felt to me like maybe someone tapped him on the shoulder and said, Mike, huh? So the idea that Brian
Or he
Callahan,
went back and watched the game film and was like, oh, God, Stoney almost did die out there, huh? How about that?
Well, there's that. But yeah, it just, I guess it's if you're these moves should not be done to me with like concern too much about like public reaction. I mean, first of all, public reaction is already like, you're a bleep show,
right?
Like that's already, so just keep piling on if you want. But yeah, you would think that when you go 3-14, that you could try to do some things to improve your staff. That's the whole idea. It's not just to punish someone or to get a pound of flesh. It's like, maybe you can get some better coaches. Maybe that would help too. Or maybe it's all Levis and Rand.
Yeah,
like you said, all Levis, all Rand.
I think there's plenty of reason beyond public reaction to consider making staff changes here, right? Like, I mean, there was not a whole lot about this football team. It was very good this year, which is how you end up with the number 1 overall pick. So if you're keeping the head coach, that's fine. Like, if they get through this whole thing and the entire coaching staff is held together, I don't really know what to make of that there. I mean, look, we've talked about it. How important was Nick Holtz this year? Do they feel like there's somebody out there that can do a better job? Maybe they don't. Maybe they say, you know what? We really trust our offensive process here. We trust our offensive process. And if we can identify the right quarterback, you're going to see on the field next year that everything looks a whole lot better just because of that. And maybe they're right. I don't know. Special teams, we talked about it yesterday. It was such a disaster throughout the entire season up until like game 14 when it got better. So do you look at the way it ended on special teams and say, well, they brought in some competent special teams players and it made a big difference, and it just wasn't Colt Anderson the whole time? To me, that's a really tough sell, but maybe they believe that deep down in their hearts. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough sell. We had someone related to him yesterday on the YouTube chat making the case, it's this player, that player. Yeah, I understand the players made the mistakes, but that's exactly what coaching is about, isn't it? Then we're talking again, we're far removed from it. It got better, but it was stuff I'd never seen in the NFL before.
Yeah,
so
just brutal. Absolutely brutal. Let's head back to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Jared in Spring Hill. Jared, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, good morning. Yes, I'm right there with you on the Colt Anderson. Like a lot of stuff that we've never seen take place did happen under his reign. And the quote of him, I didn't really know that I had to work as hard as I thought I was going to have to, just like really embody the incompetence. Like, I just think, as an innocent bystander fan, just from that comment, you can't bring that guy back. Like, it just screams dumb. And whoever the new GM is, all right, I'm a teacher. I do a lot of, cooler talk and whatnot. Whoever the new GM is, I just hope that they subscribe to one of my ideas. And again, y'all laughed me out of the room with my going crazy over Bauer power last year.
You love Bowers.
And it could have been us. It could have been us, is all I'm saying. We could have a great tight end with, Billy Denham throwing Mayo, balls all over the place to Brock Bowers. And we could have been a great season. However, it's not that. So I just hope the GM comes in and let's focus on priority premium positions in the first round, not tackles. I get it. Yes. But if I'm GM, unless a tackle can block two guys at once, I'm going to prioritize athleticism and a little bit more impact on that. So I'm going quarterback, I'm going edge, I'm going receiver, I'm going tight end in the first or second round. And that's really, in corner. So I'm keying in on those 5 positions in the first or second round as a GM, and I'm not drafting any more tackles. So whenever the GM is up for election and I run, hopefully I'm running on that platform and I can get you all to vote to turn this thing around. So I really love the show. And also too, Joe, yesterday, and like the PK banter has just been so great. So please keep it up. It's hilarious. Let's continue to watch the days of our Titans. So
there we go. Thank you for the call, Jared. Couple things on that. Number one, the Colt Anderson comments were basically what he's referring to was when he said, earlier in the year I assumed guys knew what they were doing.
Yeah. It didn't pair well with the performance.
Did not go well with the performance. We talked about that at the time. Number two, let the record show. I love Brock Bowers last year. I would have been fine with the Titans drafting Brock Bowers. But they do have to draft tackle. They do have to address their offensive line. And I don't know that like is tight end premium position.
No,
it's important.
A lot of people would say no. Yeah, premium. I mean, different people define it differently, but for the most part, I think everybody would agree quarterback, receiver, edge rusher, and corner would probably be your top 4. And look, I agree though. If you have a great one, that's absolutely fantastic.
Sure.
But the only thing I would say with Jared, I get it now. If you're a Titans fan, I hear what you're saying, like in terms of no more tackles, you're sick of it. But there's plenty of like some years the best player is a left tackle, and then if you have that chance, you draft that guy. I mean, great offense, because when you go after that, after those 4 premium positions, I can make the case then it's a left tackle.
Yeah,
would be your next premium position, right?
Also, they need a right tackle at some point this offseason. Whether that's in the draft or in free agency.
Yeah, now this is and this is the draft where unless you're moving down,
right?
Heck no.
That's not going to be a consideration of where they're at right now.
Right.
No doubt. Let's head back to our 1025 The Game phone line. Welcome in Chad. Chad, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, good stuff, fellas. I got my question for you is about the football fan. And I want to piggyback a little bit. I don't want to completely tear down the last caller, but when you get to the point where you say, well, my first round, I'm taking quarterback. Second round, I'm going wide receiver. Third round, I'm going left tackle. That's like the most low IQ stuff in the history of the game. When did the football fan become so low IQ? And my point is, when I grew up, it was tackle football from the time I was 5. We lived the game. We had a football culture. I don't think people are playing the game. I've never seen the fan in my lifetime, and I don't know if it's just because we've given the fan such a microphone on social media, but I've never seen the fan so far away from the game. where they just have no idea of you listen to this fantasy football GM talk right now with what's going on with the draft. Okay, we're going to trade, the number one pick, then we're going to get Micah Parsons, then we're going to trade up, and then we're going to get Abdul Carter. It's like the reality is so far removed from what it used to be. And I guess my question is, when did the fan get so far removed from the game? Your thoughts?
Yep. Thanks for the call, Chad. We'll address that coming up next. Take your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. We love all our callers here on this program. So
We
keep
love
them
you,
coming.
idiots.
More coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Joe, what'd you make of Chad's call in the last segment of the fans and maybe the voice of the fans either being louder than it's ever been before or more wrong than they've ever been before?
Touch grass, losers. Well, so is Chad saying that we all should have been smashing our heads together at age 5, and then we would be smarter about the draft? I mean, I hear what he's saying. I don't think it's new, right? And look, I also don't think that need is completely dismissed. I mean, teams don't, there are, there's the horizontal and the vertical. Like there are times when it's like, I mean, look, man, we have a gaping hole at whatever, inside linebacker. We're in the 3rd round. Okay, I like this slot receiver a little bit better. Sometimes the team opts for need, and I don't think that's if they're close.
Right.
But, yeah, I agree that if anybody just going through, get this position here and get this position, yeah, that's not what you do. If you want to be a great football team, you draft. Again, like the Titans, we would say corner is one of their most stocked positions if they're actually all healthy, and yet – to me, Travis Hunter is absolutely the choice. And I think he's a corner, but that'll be, to me, one of the most interesting parts of the draft process is that discussion and how people view him. Maybe different teams view him differently. But I think he's a great elite corner as opposed to a very good receiver prospect. So even if you value the receiver position over corner, I heard Jared talking about this, and I hear what he's saying. Would you rather have A.J. Brown or Derek Stingley, right? I get that. But I don't think Travis Hunter is an A.J. Brown. I don't think Travis Hunter is one of those guys at receiver. And maybe I'm wrong. Happy to be wrong. But I think he is one of those guys at corner.
Yeah, I'm going to be, like we talked about yesterday, I'm going to be really interested to see how teams view that through the draft process. And, like, if you're the Titans doing your evaluation, do you feel like he can help you on the offensive side of the ball, or is it purely – a defensive pick for you at cornerback? I mean, let's say they get to the evaluation and they feel like he's not going to help them offensively. I mean, you still consider doing it if you feel like he's going to be an elite corner, right? I know they've got corner, but if you feel like he's by far the best player in the draft, I think you got to consider doing it at number 1 overall or moving back or whatever it would look like at that point. The receiver part of this is going to be interesting because I've said for 2 years now, like, they need to find a young wide receiver that they can build around. I mean, I don't know that there's a receiver in the draft that really needs to be considered as high as they're picking right now. Like, Ted McMillan out of Arizona, if you trade down, maybe he's a guy that you end up with at one of those spots. But I think most people looking at this right now saying if you move down, you're moving down because somebody else wants the quarterbacks and you don't, and you could pick up still maybe a Hunter or an Abdul Carter. I do wonder, looking at this receiving class right now, can the Titans pull off a few of these things at once? Like, can you get adequate help at edge rusher and get a wide receiver to build around? Can you get, adequate help on your offensive line and get an edge rusher at the same time? Like, we know what the positions of need are. How many can they check off the list this offseason based on where they're currently lined up in the draft? And how many of those guys exist in this draft is another question.
Yeah. And that's the thing when you have it, and they're even within, there's 1st round grades, but then there's, like whatever you want to call it, the elite level, the premium, there may only be in some drafts 3 to 5, 7, whatever it is. So when you're where they are, you have a chance to get one of those and even move down some and still get one of those. But then it's also, of course, what can they address before that? What can Dwight Schrute get done before they get to the draft?
Yeah,
with that first taste of free agency after he evaluates Brian Callahan.
Probably harvest some beats, Joe.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, if they ended up with Ted McMillan in this draft, would you say, hey, that's a wide receiver you could build around there? He's really good.
He's
Last
really
2 years
good
in Arizona.
Yeah, he's really good. I mean, he's a talent. I could see that. I just, sometimes I've been so wrong about some of those guys too. The guy that the Patriots drafted a few years ago,
I don't even remember who it was, but I could see him
out of
like his number in my head.
Arizona State. And I was stunned that and they got him like late in the first round. So, but no, I mean, I think he's a real talent. I do kind of look at this draft. It's like, to me, it's like Hunter, Carter. Those are the two that, and yes, that is, well, not with Hunter, but with Carter, of course, that's also need is also part of the equation because they are so needy there.
Yep. Let's head back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Titans Bill to the program. Titans Bill, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Good morning, guys. How are you doing this morning?
Doing great.
Great.
I'll tell you, they just need to hire us a general manager who could put the train back on the track because, look, and you know this as well as I do, the last 3 seasons has been nothing but a train wreck.
No doubt.
And that's a fact with my hand up.
No doubt about it. Thank you for the call, Bill. I think Bill hit the nail on the head. Last 3 seasons have been a train wreck. I guess my question is, how much power is general manager going to have to help fix that moving forward? Or is this just the Chad Brinker show? And that's what we've talked about the last couple of weeks here. What is this general manager going to do?
Now I can't get off like thinking about things that Dwight did, like like the fire alarm thing to try to get everybody ready for fires, and then he actually set the place on fire. Or no, wait, was it Ryan? Did Ryan actually have something in the microwave? I don't know, maybe. Yeah, the new GM. Thank you, N'Keal Harry. Thank you, whoever was that. You or okay, good job, N'Keal Harry. I thought that guy was going to be awesome. Yeah, the new GM. I just wouldn't put too much on this new
drafting.
Yeah, I know. This new GM really needs to fix things. I mean, Chad Brinker. If you want the train back on the tracks, your guy is Chad Brinker.
Yep.
Let's see how he does.
Coming up next, time for Preds Pick the Click, 615-737-1025. Our phone number. Be the first caller. If you guess a goal scorer for the Nashville Predators tonight, you win a pair of tickets to a future Preds home game. We'll do that. We'll continue the discussion on the Titans as well. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's time for Preds Picks to click.
And a shot at a score.
Do you think you know who will score a goal in tonight's Predators game?
Little give and go.
Shoot your shot for a chance to win Preds tickets. Call 615-737-1025 now. It's Pick to Click, now on Robby and Rexrode.
It is time for Preds Pick to Click here on Robby and Rexrode. Preds in action tonight, taking on the Chicago Blackhawks. Puck drop 7 o'clock, pregame 6 o'clock. Here on 102.5, 106.3 the game. Rexrode back on the board last time out. He leads the competition with 9 correct answers. I have 6. The listeners have 5. Keyser with 3. Rexrode pulling away a little bit in the competition. With that in mind, let's head back to our 102.5 the game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Wesley to the program. Wesley, good morning. Thanks for calling in. Who is your pick to click tonight for the Nashville Predators?
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. I'm going to go with Steven Stamkos.
Stamkos, a couple of goals last time out. Thanks for the call, Wesley. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
So Stamkos off the board. Joe Rexrode, your pick to click.
Yeah, well, let's keep riding that hot hand. Philip Forsberg.
Philip Forsberg has scored for 3 games in a row, going for number 4 tonight in the competition. Stamkos, Forsberg off the board. Nick Keyser, your pick to click.
I'll tell you what, I'll go with I want to try to do something a little bit different here tonight. I'll go with, I think this is the first time I've picked him this year, but I'll go with Brady Shea just to be weird.
Going with Brady Shea in the competition. I will take Ryan O'Reilly. Going with O'Reilly. Okay. Stamkos, Forsberg, Shea, O'Reilly. The selections in Preds pick to click. Preds in action tonight, taking on Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks. We'll have Derek McKenzie on a little bit later in the program to get into all things Nashville Predators with him. So back to the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We're going to talk about the veteran quarterback part of this a little bit later. Josh on the text line throwing it out there. What do you think about getting the quarterback in the draft and getting a vet for 1 to 2 years? Let me just go on record now. I don't really love that. Like, to me, I think you need to pick one. Pick a direction here. And look, I'm not saying you can't go sign a veteran quarterback if you draft a rookie here, but you're signing the veteran quarterback at that point to then be the backup. Like, I've talked about this. I don't love the idea of Will Levis being the backup to whatever quarterback they would draft at this point. But to me, like, the idea of you going Atlanta and just saying, all right, we're going to bring in this veteran to start for 2 years, and we're going to draft Shedeur Sanders number 1 overall, and then he can just sit there for a little while. I don't necessarily love that idea because I just think there are so many positions of need right now on this team that you have to find a way to address. And I think allocating both the money to go get the quarterback and the number 1 pick to get the quarterback is a lot of capital displayed in quarterback in one offseason. Yeah. And I realize you got to get the quarterback right, but I don't love that idea.
No, I don't either. I guess if your veteran choice is Jameis Winston, and it's sort of like, well, he could be your really fun roller coaster starter, or he's now your backup because you ended up drafting a QB. I think if you're, especially if you're signing, not that there's anyone great as we've gone through all the candidates, but if you're signing one of those, if you happen to get somebody like a Rodgers or a Cousins or something, then I think doing that, to me, telegraphs you're doing something different in the draft. It doesn't necessarily. I certainly didn't think the Falcons were going to take Michael Penix.
I did not either,
and they did. Especially that was surprising because they had given Cousins such a big deal. But I'm generally with you. It could be. Look, as I also said yesterday, so I'm kind of contradicting myself. I'm the flyer on the QB thing is. It just, I'm not a fan of it. However, if you did sign a veteran and then all of a sudden it's like, man, actually, Dylan Gabriel is by far our highest QB on the board, and here he is at pick whatever. Well, he's the highest player we have on the board by far. Then there's something. And again, I think one of these other QBs who's not being mentioned in the first round could certainly end up being a good QB. That happens.
Could be. Yeah, absolutely. That could happen. Chad is taking some crap on our text line who called in about the fans. One texter said, good to hear Chad Lombardi call in this morning on the program. This is from Tim. I got another texter saying, just because you won the Paperweight Pee Wee League Championship doesn't mean you have some super insightful outlook on football. And on my own personal text line, somebody has asked me, was that Chad Brinker? Did Chad Brinker call me? And I don't know. I can neither confirm nor deny that it was Chad Brinker.
Hey, guys, Chad B. from the St. Thomas area, Sports Park area.
This is Chad B. from Metro Center.
These fans are total idiots, huh? Right?
Can't confirm or deny. I don't know.
It's a fair question.
Yeah, it is.
We don't know the answer.
We do not know the answer. On the tackle front, because you got, as you would expect, a lot of people saying, man, if they go tackle again, I swear. I mean, they're going to have to do tackle at some point this offseason, right? Whether that's free agency or in the draft, because you can't waltz into training camp next year with the same group that you've had this year and expect that your offense is going to perform with any sort of consistent functionality. So the tackle pick or selection of some kind in free agency is coming at some point here. So if you're a Titans fan,
and Chad, don't get mad. But I get it. The idea of, fans want somebody to get excited about it. They want, fans want skill players and all that. I get it. Like Brock Bowers it'd be a lot of fun. You would know with Brock Bowers, whoever's quarterbacking, wherever things go, that guy is going to make plays and be fun to watch. Delaney Walker had like 97 catches that one year when they were like 2-15 or 2-14 or whatever, right? So I get that. I do. But also you should hate this offensive line. You should look at the teams that are playing in the playoffs right now. It's not true of all of them, but you got some of the best offensive lines in football still playing for a reason.
Yep. Let's head back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Mike to the program. Mike, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Morning, guys. So hypothetically, if we were to take a quarterback in with a later pick, I'm in the thought process that we need to hit on our 1, 2, and 4 picks if we don't trade at all. But what about a quarterback in the 5th and later rounds? Are you guys cool with us doing that? But then if it doesn't work out and we're like the same records we were last year, taking quarterback again, or is that us just wasting a pick?
Yep,
I don't have a quarterback in mind, but I just feel like that taking a flyer on somebody might not be a horrible idea. But again, like I said before, we have so many holes that I don't know if one draft class is not going to fix everything. But if like a Jackson Dart, he's the first person I can think of. I don't know if he's going to be around that late. But, you guys know where I'm headed.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Mike. I have no interest in that, just to be quite honest with you. Like, look, I get it. Like, at some point, if you're along in this process and you get to the 5th round and you're like, wow, like Jackson Dart has fallen really, really far here. We have a 3rd-round grade on him and it's in the 5th round. Then maybe you gotta do it at that point.
It's based on their evaluation.
In general, I don't really have any patience for the taking a flyer on the quarterback part of this year. Like, there's so many other things with your roster that you need to figure out. To me, if you identify a quarterback that you feel like is going to be your franchise quarterback, you're probably taking him pretty high. And if you don't, to me, get other positions fixed or try to, and then you can worry about quarterback next year if you just get to the end of the evaluation and you say, yeah, we don't feel good about any of these guys being our starting quarterback.
Yeah, good thing the Niners didn't listen to you then, I guess, huh?
I don't think they're about to pay that guy either. So, I don't know.
Right, but I mean, that is an example of, I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, that's an example. I mean, again, to me, it's like, yeah, it's their evaluation. To be like, no, let's take a QB. No, heck no. But if it's like, this is the best football player we have on our board, and there's a pretty big gap after him. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
what? But if once I saw the pick, I would be like, oh no,
right?
Just to get something else. You need so much. You need so much depth.
It also depends on like where are we talking about, because I think there's also a difference in this discussion of taking a flyer on somebody in the 4th round and taking a flyer on somebody in like the 6th round. Like if they had a 3rd-round pick. They took a flyer on Malik Willis in the 3rd round. I would have no interest in them doing that if they had a hypothetical 3rd-round pick this year. Take your 3rd-round pick and get somebody in that can help you and can contribute immediately. If you take a flyer on a quarterback in the 6th round, then to me that's a little bit different.
Yes, but according to Caroline and Jared, it's just coaching. Vrabel not being able to develop quarterback. Malik Willis is an example of Vrabel not being able to develop quarterbacks.
Mhm.
Because clearly your guy, Matt LaFleur, has turned him into a star in the league.
Yeah, he looked great a couple weeks ago when he got in there against Chicago. Looked like he couldn't complete a forward pass. So,
Oh, you hate him again now. Jeez.
no, he's fine. He
No.
won some games this year as backup quarterback. That's all you need from your backup.
Yes. It's a good outcome.
He
for
has
him.
turned himself into a functional backup quarterback, which is good.
That's a very good job to have.
There was a long time that we wondered if he'd be able to do that.
Yes.
And he did it. So good for him. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. The best and worst things in sports. Coming up next, we'll take your best things, your worst things on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game.
The best and worst of the sports week. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
On ESPN.
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is the worst. You look like you're feeling sorry for yourself. You don't even know it.
He's one of one. He is him.
This is a Coke bottle. It's not a crystal ball.
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
Okay, let's go. It is that time of the week. Time for the best things and the worst things in sports. We'll take your best and worst on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Rexrode, kick us off with your best and worst things in the world of sports.
Well, best, I got to go with the Vrabster. Vrabel getting that job in New England, not because we're Vrabel fanboys. There's like one poster who just every time we bring him up, you fanboys at Vrabel.
I do love Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy Mike Vrabel, but regardless, and I'm not rooting for or against Mike Vrabel. I'm just here for the story, man, and I cannot wait to see this unfold. You know, we had a question yesterday on a sham Caroline Fenton judging of Jared versus Joe, and it was, will Vrabel be successful? He said no. I said yes, but she wouldn't define what success was. You know, if successful is win a Super Bowl, I can't sit here and say yeah. But I think he will win. I think he will get them to a certain point. Will he get them past that? Will he have a chance to get them past that? And, of course, everybody here, Titans fandom, is watching closely.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm 100% here for it. And I just can't wait till he starts getting snippy with people up there in the pressers. Because he's going to take some L's next year, and it's going to be fun. Holy cow, did I just forget my worst in sports?
I don't know, did you? Do we need to circle back?
Dude, I really, like, I'm a little bit worried about myself here. Well, I had some options. I'll throw this one. I don't think this is what it was going to be. But I will go with the Mike Tomlin discussion in Pittsburgh. You know, Mike Tomlin, he's got some stuff to figure out there for sure. Like, I've seen a lot of Steelers fans who want him fired. Yep. And you got to be careful what you wish for on that one. And I get that's a fan base that, like, never gets coaches fired, so they never get to enjoy that, like, brief sugar rush of having your coach fired because they've had 3 coaches for the last 50 years. Mike Tomlin's a very good coach. They are not – like, they have a real actual – they got a little bit of a talent issue on defense, as I think we saw. And certainly they just haven't been able to find the quarterback. Does he share in some blame? Sure. But I think maybe the Steelers made expectations a little bit unrealistic this year. And, yeah, he's very good. You should not want him to not be your coach, Steelers fans.
They could trade him. I've seen him throw that out there,
yeah,
too.
there's that, too.
Trade Mike Tomlin.
Oh, shoot. No, here's my worst real fast. No, gosh darn it. My worst is Tom Brady as I take up the entire segment. First of all, we have to have Tom Brady call these huge games. It's not very good. He's gotten a little better. It's not very good. But also, as I see all this stuff with the Raiders, and everything I hear about the Raiders is how much he's pulling the strings. Yeah. How could he be an announcer anymore? I'm going to keep bitching about this until this ends.
He's going to play too. What I hear.
Sure. Let's throw that in the mix too. Maybe he can be co-commissioner. And then it's ridiculous. Tom Brady, worst in sports.
Yeah, he could be Jackie Moon, man. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good reference. All right, best and worst from me.
You nailed it.
Best and worst from me. I don't know if you guys saw. I looked back at the sales to see how much it's gone up. But AJ Brown reading Inner Excellence.
Yes.
Apparently the Amazon sales have gone up 53 million%.
Pretty good.
So
go,
yeah, I guess AJ learning or knowing they're showing us that he can read is phenomenal. So
Jalen Hurts doesn't believe he can.
Yeah. I know. He's like, I thought he just had it on the sideline. I don't know. But anyway, that was pretty cool to see that. Just a pretty funny little thing that I noticed. And then the worst thing in sports, the Vikings were my pick them, and Sam Darnold absolutely pooped the bed, and the Vikings did as well. Was hoping that they would win, honestly. I was pretty disappointed with their game, and hopefully they can figure things out up there in Minnesota.
My best thing in sports, we get Bills and Ravens coming up this weekend, which is what we've all been looking forward to in the playoffs, the divisional round. I think has a chance to be pretty good, but I think that one's the headliner, the Bills and the Ravens, and we'll see if Derrick Henry can keep it up. He's continuing to be an absolute beast out there. So really excited for Bills and Ravens coming up this weekend. My worst thing, Jermon McCoy tearing his ACL
Oh, gosh.
for the Vols in an off-season workout. Now, according to Austin Price of VolQuest, it looks like he probably is going to be ready for the start of the season, but you never really know with those things and the rehab and all that. So that's Tennessee's best defensive player and has torn his ACL working out in the offseason. And just kind of a sub-rant to that, Joe, in general, I'm going to wait until the picture is done, and there's still some roster pieces that they don't have right now that they're going to at some point. Right now, they got a lot of work to do. Right now, they are significantly worse in my mind than they were when the season ended this year. So, got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's always there are some young guys that you hope can rise up for sure. But yeah, the name of the game now is, especially you lose, no surprise at all. James Pierce announced it yesterday. It was just a matter of time. He did wait until the end.
Wait until the very end.
Yeah. But
to the point where Vol Twitter's like, oh, James Pierce is coming back. Thank God.
Sorry, Vol Twitter. But yeah, you lose someone like that, and it's like, who's gonna, you've got to replace some of these guys with vets who are good and productive.
Absolutely.
That's how it is.
Let's head to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Ed in New Jersey to the program. Ed, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good.
So with regard to this GM search, they got some pretty qualified candidates, some pretty good ones that I think are sought after, and they're all agreed to come back for a second interview. Now, what's more plausible? They're all that desperate, or they actually heard something in the first interview that they liked. So I'm trying to flip the narrative a little bit in thinking maybe Brinker adds sort of an insulation for them from the owner. And maybe it is an attractive job because they don't necessarily have to deal straight with an owner who they may have questions about. And now they have a person that acts as a buffer. So I'm just wondering, trying to be optimistic, if there's anything that could be attractive about this position for them.
Yep.
Otherwise, why would they come back?
Yeah, thanks for the call, Ed. I'm all about optimistic right now. We've not had a ton of that over the last 3 months.
Yeah, and hey, I'm here for any of that too. But yeah, look, they're an NFL GM in title. Okay, so there's 32 of those. There are other NFL GM jobs where the GM doesn't have final say because the coach does. I believe that was the case with Seattle and Pete Carroll. I believe that's the case with Andy Reid. It is the case with Kyle Shanahan. So to me, it's very similar, right? And John Lynch seems to be enjoying being the GM. Well, maybe not this year as much, but you know what I mean? You're going to still get plenty of credit and reward if your team makes good choices of players and your football team wins. So, sure. I mean, all these people coming here, I promise you, there is a massive pay raise at hand.
That's another.
So, right? So, I mean, that alone would make someone listen.
Yep, absolutely. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll continue the discussion on the Titans. And Joe Rexrode's got a take on what the Titans should do at quarterback. We'll get into that coming up next as well. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. We'll have Predators assistant coach Derek McKenzie joining the program at 7:30. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us at 8 o'clock. We'll get into all things Titans and NFL with him at 8 o'clock. One of those days, Joe, where we could have Charles on for probably 3 consecutive hours. There's a lot to talk about. So looking forward to that at 8 o'clock.
The NFL offseason. Well, it's not the offseason. It's the playoffs, but it's also the offseason.
It is. It's both.
It is.
Feels like it's been the offseason for the Titans for a long time.
Yeah.
It does. Speaking of the Titans, we've had a lot of discussions about quarterback. We'll continue to have a lot of discussions about quarterback. But you have a direction that you feel like you were leaning towards for the Titans at the quarterback position. How are you feeling?
Well, maybe this is just because as we've gotten into it this week, I'm like, my God, 3 more months of this. But, I think I'm ready to call it at this point. And some of this has to do with my guy Dane Brugler's mock draft, in which, he talks about, why Shedeur Sanders has fallen to 6. Because I'm afraid of Cam Ward, frankly. I just think that the Titans should absolutely not take one of these quarterbacks. And I think if they do, that they're going to regret it. And I think that they should, even though the veteran options are not great, you try to build a football team. And no, I don't know when the great quarterback will come. And I understand all the conversation about, well, then you get to a decent point and you can't draft that quarterback at the top of the draft. But I don't care. That doesn't mean that you do it just because you're there. You don't just do it to do it. And I just don't think these guys are good enough. I don't think that they're going to be great quarterbacks. I think, they might be good. I think Shedeur Sanders might be a good quarterback in the NFL. But I just, when you are there, what you need to do is come away with the football player that you're most convinced is a great player. You need great players on your team in this league. And there's an opportunity there. And even if they move down a little bit, there's an opportunity there for them to do that. So I'm out on these rookies. We can.
That didn't take long.
I know. And we're going to have all the stuff in the combine and all the, but look, the film is what it is. That's what matters. I don't care what anybody does at the combine. Don't really care what they say. And that stuff all matters to the teams. The interviews matter to the teams. We don't get access to that information anyway.
Right.
We get little drips and drabs, and then you get stuff like we had with Will Levis a couple years ago, where an agent of another client, I believe, is out there trying to sabotage him. I mean, I think that was part of the story with him. But regardless, the story with him about personality was all stupid. It meant nothing. What meant something is that he can't accurately and consistently deliver the football well enough to be a top QB in this league. That's it. So all that stuff was a bunch of puffery BS anyway. These guys, the film says this just isn't a great year for quarterbacks. So it's bad timing for the Titans. To me, they need to build a great football team, and they have a lot of areas to address. And you get a great player when you have a chance to get a great player. Because I'm convinced that Travis Hunter will be a great player in the NFL. I'm a lot more confident in that than either of these quarterbacks being a great player in the NFL. And I understand it's the most important position. But, again, look at the playoffs. How many of these guys in the playoffs are top of the draft, first-round picks who were picked by the team that they're playing for right now?
Well, Josh Allen, Mahomes, Lamar, even though he was late.
I'm saying top of the draft.
You said first round. So he's first round.
I said top of the draft.
You also said first round.
First round. I said first round, top of the draft. That the bottom of the first round is not the top of the draft.
Okay. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. I'm thinking on the NFC side. I think nobody on the NFC side, right?
Right. Hurts is
Jaden Daniels.
Hurts is 53. That's right. Hurts is 53. Jaden Daniels fits that bill. Other than that, you've got, again, Goff was number 1. Goff was also
different team.
Given up on, So
Stafford was number 1.
Stafford was number 1. Given up, they swapped teams. They're both there. So, look, Stafford. There you go.
That's a good one.
Gafford.
I kind of like that.
Those guys were much better prospects coming in the draft. than these guys. And again, and I still think Goff is good. He's good.
Yeah.
He's good on a great team with maybe the best offensive line. I've gone through this before, but maybe the best offensive line, the best pair of backs, the best slot receiver, a great tight end, and a very talented outside receiver, and also a ridiculous offensive coordinator.
Yep.
So good. He looks like a great quarterback because of that. That's what I'm saying. Make that happen. And you'd be surprised by what quarterbacks who might be in the league right now floating around would look way better if you had a great team around them. Of course you want the great quarterback at the top of the draft, but they're just not there this year. So move on and get yourself a great player.
So Rexrode is all in on the veteran quarterback approach and doing something else at the top of the draft other than quarterback. We'll take your thoughts on that, 615-737-1025. Let's head back to our phone line. Welcome in Adam in Portland to the program. Adam, good morning. Thank you for the call.
Hey, Robby, man. Hey, Joe, you're exactly right, dude. By the way, you won Jared versus Joe yesterday. I don't know. You're probably not surprised by me saying that, but I'm going to start calling him Jeroline again. I think he likes it because he's a narcissist, but she hates it. I know she hates it, but I think she's picking him right now for something like that. I don't know what it is. Maybe because he had a kid and she feels bad for him, or wants to make him feel good. I don't know.
For him.
But, yeah,
Poor soul.
But well, it's like you had a kid. I'm engaged. Let's all be happy and help each other here. So anyway, so I thought you won yesterday. And
Thank
by the
you.
way,
I always win. But
when I
thank you.
said a couple of weeks ago and it pissed you off, I was like, you need to do better. You're my favorite of all these guys on this station. I'll say that. So I expect a lot from you.
There you go.
I align the most with Joe's opinion on this whole station. I'm like he says it, I believe it most of the time. But in this situation, I'm 100% on board with you. I'm like, these rookies, what are you going to do, man? Are you going to get – even if Shedeur is awesome, he's going to come to this team. Did y'all watch any games this year? I don't trust that one bit. Like,
well, if he's awesome, then this is a different discussion. If he's awesome, then that changes everything.
Yeah, but think of it like this, and I'm going to also go to the caller a couple of callers ago who was like, these low IQ fans. Dude, are you kidding? What else are we supposed to do? Like, what is our we're the only reason we're, like, even considering this $10,000 a seat thing is because we're like, maybe it'll get better. So let's talk about how it could possibly get better. What are we supposed to do? Just sit here and go, this is awesome, man. Let's write checks to the Titans for 2 or 3 years out. Oh, man, of course we're going to call you guys and go, hey, I think this is the way I would do it. But I like Joe's route of going veteran quarterback and, something stopgap. But get a great player. If you can get Hunter, cool. If you could trade back, that's ideal and still get a premium pick. But don't get a rookie, man. Then you're wasting the pick and you're wasting the value of the pick on a team that is not ready for a rookie quarterback, in my opinion.
Yep. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Thanks for the kind words, too.
Yeah.
Jeroline,
and he aligns the most with you on this entire station.
Appreciate it.
Right. It's good. It's good. So you're going veteran quarterback. Look, if I had to pick a direction right now, that's where I'm leaning to. I would go veteran QB and then fill other needs in the draft. I mean, I would be trying like heck if I'm the Titans to trade down and not trade down that far. But if you swapped 1 and 4, or the Giants love one of these guys, or the Browns love one of these guys, or whoever.
Yeah, there's teams that you don't have to necessarily go down far.
Exactly. So that would be ideal. If it doesn't happen, and you've got the number 1 overall pick and you're sticking there, you better be prepared to take Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, one of those guys that you like. But I would rather see them do that than to just force it at quarterback. And then you have to determine whether or not it's forcing it. Like, that's your job over the next three months here. If you're Brian Callahan, Chad Brinker, and the Titans turning over every stone you can turn over to get to the bottom of if you think whether or not these quarterbacks are going to be franchise level guys. So then the question becomes, if you're going the veteran route, who is it? And there's an option that you've thrown out there that I don't really have any patience for. We'll get into that coming up next as well. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. We are broadcasting live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. Rexrode's laid it out there. The veteran QB route is the route that he will take if he were the Titans this offseason. What about you? What's your quarterback solution? Let's head back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Herb in Kentucky to the program. Herb, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Listen, I agree with you 100% about don't take one of these young guys and take a chance on them. Build the team up with that leverage. But the veteran quarterback who I think they should use, his name is Will Levis. He wouldn't be the first guy that started out a little bit rough and turned out to be pretty darn good. I think they ought to at least do one more year.
Thanks for the call, Herb. We've not heard much of that in the last few weeks.
Wes in Clarksville on the text line said, did you ever think Levis would look good with a great team around him?
No.
I mean, look, could he look better? I'm sure Levis would say, yeah, give me those pockets. And yeah, I'd love to have that. Give me that receiver, that tight end, whatever. Could he be better? Yes. I think this year, again, the questions about his game, the holes in his game, and I really am not even talking about the death picks and stuff, because I think he actually worked on that a little bit this year, and it wasn't bad at the end of the year. Again, to me, it's just, he just up the pocket presence, because you're just not going to have totally clean pockets, and just the consistent accuracy. To me, it's just not at a high enough level to hitch your wagon to him anymore.
No, and I think from Brian Callahan's perspective, that's not an option. Like, you can't do that with any, to me, reasonable expectation that you're going to keep your job next year.
Levis and the whole coaching staff, run it all back.
It would be amazing if that was the case. Now, look, Levis may be on the roster. We've talked about that, right? Like Levis at the moment is going to be on the roster. We'll see if there's any sort of decision on that front that comes this offseason. But he very well could be here. He could be in camp. And who knows? Maybe he comes out in camp and he looks great. And I don't know. I just, to me, for that to be your plan heading into next year, I don't consider that on the spectrum of reality if you're the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
Or should it be?
It's good to hear, again, it's good to hear people who are like trying to be optimistic about the Titans. Good to hear people who think Levis should get more time.
Well, look,
I love the variety of opinions.
I'm not going to totally throw cold water on the idea of it from the standpoint of we've gone through the veteran options and none of them are great, right? Like, I don't think there's oh, good, we feel great about this guy. Like, maybe it was Darnold, but again, I'm not convinced Darnold's getting the free agency. And even that, the last 2 weeks have kind of, it's like, oh, okay. So what exactly is going on with Sam Darnold out there? You brought up Fields, so let's get into that. Fields, I think you've said, would be your pick right now if you were the Titans to be the starting quarterback next year. It's really difficult for me to get there just because I've watched a lot of Justin Fields. And to me, he's got some of the same issues that we're talking about with Levis in terms of processing things and holding on to the ball too long and not being decisive. And I think it's gotten him into a lot of trouble with the Bears. I thought, look, he won games this year with Pittsburgh. So, I mean, they won. The offense didn't necessarily look great, particularly the passing offense, but they did win games with him as their quarterback. So you can't just ignore that. Why is Fields your number one choice at this point?
Well, it goes with, and maybe it's also contradicting myself again when I just talked about, build a great team and then bring in a decent quarterback and the quarterback will look better. I have serious questions about Fields too. One of the biggest reasons is just he's young enough that I still think it's possible for improvement. I still think there could be more meat on the bone there. Maybe this is also just going back to my firm belief in that draft that he was going to be great. And then when the Bears got him, I was like, oh my God, the Bears did something good. I didn't want him to do something good. I hate the Bears. But I was like, wow, they've actually done something good. And then I was wrong. And I watch him. I watched him a lot with the Bears. And there would be full games and certainly stretches of games where you're like, okay, that's what we're talking about. This is a big time talent. and he hasn't put it together. Am I optimistic he would? No, but part of the reasoning for that is also they're going to try to fix the offensive line, but I don't know that they will. I would rather have a guy like that with this offensive line protection situation than a Rodgers, a Cousins, whatever. If you tell me the Titans can actually get to the point of being a middling, decent, solid offensive line, I would probably then switch my answer to Kirk Cousins.
I think I might argue the other way. Like, I would rather have a quarterback that knows where to go with the ball when you have a bad offensive line. Like, and Fields doesn't know where to go with the ball, or at least he hasn't. Like, he hasn't known the progressions have not been a strength of his. Like, I do think, look, we talked about this the other day. The Titans' offensive line has been horrendous. So there's no skirting that. There's no getting around that. I don't think Will Levis helped them at all this year. Like, I think Levis was responsible for a lot of the sacks that this team took this year. So, again, I'm not trying to absolve the offensive line because some of it was just as simple as, oh, look, there's Nicholas Petit-Frere on the ground and the edge rusher just jumping over him, getting to the quarterback. But I do wonder, like, if you did have a Cousins or a Rodgers, where from a process perspective, you know that there's not a defensive look that they haven't seen. They're going to be able to read the defense, go through progressions, know where to go with the football. I think I'd rather have that than Justin Fields to help offset some of the offensive line stuff. That's just me.
Yeah, I'm not married to the Justin Fields idea. I do think I'm higher on it than some people are. And yeah, like right now, if you made me pick, that's where I'd go. But I'd be like, okay. But again, I'm also saying I'm not going to draft a QB. So really, I feel very terrible about where the Titans are.
There is that.
But I went through the first round picks of these of every team in the Super Bowl era.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's impressive.
Thank you. We're pressed for time because we can maybe get back into this, but I'll give you the number first. You know, so the names are great when you go through them, but I'll give you the number. So by my count, and there's some we could quibble with here, they could go either way. And there's some that are pending right now, like Bryce Young.
Sure.
And I'd even say Trevor Lawrence. So my criteria is first round quarterback and worked out. Like actually was what if you draft a quarterback in the first round, I mean, you should at least see a Pro Bowl or two, right?
I would think so.
Now, if you win the Super Bowl, so I gave the Bears a plus on Jim McMahon, for example. He wasn't a great quarterback, but they won the Super Bowl. Bob Greasy, he probably threw for 63 yards a game. It's a different era. But the Super Bowl era, I think, is a fair it goes back a little far, but I mean, I think that's fair. Of course, that counts as a plus for the Dolphins. They were the perfect team, right?
Yeah.
But by my count, 128 of those quarterbacks taken, 29 I count as worked out. So that's
not a good percentage,
right? It's basically 1 in 5, which is so. And there's still different degrees of working out too. By the way, like I counted Dante Culpepper as working out. Yeah. Some people would be like, yeah. But he was pretty freaking good for a few years.
He was.
So 1 for 5 is the number. And, again, we can get into some of the names and some of the ways some of these other teams, you go through the list and you're like, what about this guy? What about that guy? What about Dan Fouts?
Yeah.
3rd round pick.
We'll revisit that.
Just saying.
8 o'clock hour. Friend of the show. We got to get Dan back on the show.
We do.
Let's quickly head back to our 1025 The Game phone line. Welcome in Josh to the program. Josh, we got about 30 seconds. Thanks for the call.
All right, guys. So quickly, I realize this might not be logistically easy to happen, but I would like to see them trade back just a few picks, hopefully pick up Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, and hopefully pick up a 3rd-round pick there, and they could maybe get Dylan Gabriel and then go grab Cousins and let Cousins and Callahan do their thing on Gabriel, and hopefully that would work out. And hopefully you'd pick up other pieces along the way that would help both of them succeed. So maybe not easy to do, but hopefully that could happen.
Yep. Thanks for the call, Josh. I mean, the trade back, I've said it, that could be the best option. Gabriel's interesting. I'm interested to see where he's going to be viewed by the time the draft rolls around. He's been a really good college player.
Yeah.
Do people view him as a high-level NFL quarterback? Yeah.
I mean, look, right now, I like him as an NFL quarterback more than I like Bo Nix as an NFL quarterback a year ago. But that shows you what I know, probably. That's probably really the takeaway from that.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Preds assistant coach Derek McKenzie will join us on the program coming up next. The Rex Rant coming up at 7:45. Charles Robinson at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning. Preds in action tonight, taking on the Chicago Blackhawks at Bridgestone Arena. Puck drop 7 o'clock, pregame 6 o'clock. Here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. And to help us talk more about that, we head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in Predators assistant coach Derek McKenzie. Derek, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, guys. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us. So Stamkos was talking after last game about how he felt like it was basically an extension of the Washington game. This time the pucks went in for you guys. So overall in the last couple of games here at home, what have you liked about the way that your group has played, and what do you feel like you guys are kind of building right now?
Well, I mean, I think sometimes, ultimately when you have a little bit of fear, right? I mean, some of the best records would just come in with Washington and Vegas. And, these guys obviously are prideful guys that want to go into every game thinking that we can win. I think when you get teams like that coming in, you kind of step up, your mind thought, we're at home. We certainly don't want to be embarrassed by two of the best teams in the league. And I thought, we played our best hockey in a sense that, we were relentless on pucks. We were detailed. And we've had a lot of those games. And to Steven's point, I mean, yes, they went in for us against Vegas. But we did a lot of good things in those first two periods. And we have, at moments throughout the season, it's just, didn't seem to be following the way they did against Vegas. And when you do build a little bit of a lead like that, obviously you can see, when they turn it up, it gave us that buffer we needed to close it out.
Over a lot of years in this city, Derek, we've kind of become used to Philip Forsberg, kind of going on heaters. Sometimes he goes through cold stretches as well. I know he was playing well still and creating offense when he wasn't scoring goals, but now that he's getting the puck in the net, how much do you see that maybe coming with him, and how much would it mean to this team if he can go on one of those heaters?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, scoring goals in this league is difficult, and there's a premium on it. And when we do get it, obviously, it makes us a very dangerous team. I think, really in the last 20 games, you look at some of the analytics, I think we've moved the needle quite a bit in some of those underlying stats that might show us that we're creating enough, whether it's off the rush, off the ozone. To your point, I think Phil's been around it, as he always is. And to your point, he has kind of had that pattern of getting hot, and all of a sudden these pucks start dropping in. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think the reality is that, that line, and it took a while. It took a while to kind of find out where the chemistry might be. And, you're always a little reluctant when Phil had, a very good season with O'Reilly and Nyquist last year. But it seems like those three guys now have pretty consistently gone out there and generated some offense. And I think that's, added another element to our team. And, these guys are all, they want to do whatever they can to win. And I think, you would look at that line and say, that's three pretty dangerous offensive guys, which they are. And so I think if they can continue to produce and then, just chip away at some of the details in the D zone to make sure we're not giving up too much, obviously that gives, Coach Andrew, a weapon that not a lot of teams have.
So, Derek, one thing that Stamkos has talked about with those three on that line in particular playing together is all three of them being right-handed shots. For the casual fan out there that maybe doesn't know why that's a big deal to get used to playing together, why is that so challenging, and how have they been able to kind of overcome that, do you think?
Well, I mean, I think, it starts probably in the face-off circle. I think, there's times where certain things probably are favorable with having some righties, and then some things and some plays and some opportunities that just can't develop with three righties. So, adjusting to those things, depending on, what side of the ice the puck is dropped is something to think about. And then, just starting in our own zone, right? You've got, three righties. A lot of times, some of the breakouts, the wall work, can be tricky for a guy playing on his offside. And then entries, obviously, if I'm entering from the right, I have that kind of Steven Stamkos kind of opening up one-timer if it's a 3-on-2 kind of look. But if we're coming down the left side, you might be a little bit more limited in some of the plays that you want to make. Ultimately, those are three guys that want the puck, shoot the puck, regardless of the hand they're in. They've had success, whether it's here or somewhere else, probably playing on a slightly different line, with at least another lefty or two on it. and having them kind of being the trigger guys. So I think they've all kind of had to, maybe take a step back and say, listen, we can all shoot, but some of it, we got to do all the little things to get the puck, to get those screens, to get those middle lane drives. And then the rest will take over. And I think obviously, and probably more than anything, there's, putting Stamkos in the middle, you can see it has just, he's skating now. He's creating, he's finding ice, he's opening things up for those other two players, which is all just a byproduct of them starting to get comfortable in the system. And, we've seen it before with guys. I remember when Reinhart, came from Buffalo to Florida and we were coaching there, it took, it's a consistent 30-goal scorer who obviously now is a 50-goal scorer, but, it took him time. It took him 20, 30 games to get comfortable in a completely different system and different environment. And I think that's, again, what you're seeing with these guys here now.
You guys surprised at all with Stamkos and how he's handled this? And as you mentioned, how he's skating. I mean, he's always been that guy, but obviously hasn't played down the middle a lot recently in his career. Are you surprised at how he's handled this?
No, I mean, he's an elite player. You just don't get to where he has in his career unless, you've got all the tools. I think, he's obviously a very cerebral player. His hockey IQ is very high. I think, he just sees the ice very well. There's not much he misses when he comes to the bench. I think he's pretty, like I said, aware of a great play or a mistake he's made. I think in saying that, I think there's a lot of players that get caught in this situation around the league where you may have had success and some real chemistry and then you move on and you don't. And I don't think the player ever changes, the situation does. And I think he's a perfect example of obviously, playing with a guy like Kucherov, who's, known for his elite passing skills. But he's come to our team and realized that, that it's a little bit different chemistry here and the way that his line is set up and some of the systems that we play in. And he's proven once again that he's obviously a great player and probably a future Hall of Famer because he's adapted and changed his game a little bit. And now he's having success again.
Well, Derek, looking forward to the game tonight. Appreciate so much you taking time to be with us this morning, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Preds assistant coach Derek McKenzie, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. Preds in action tonight, taking on the Chicago Blackhawks. They've done a lot of winning against the Chicago Blackhawks of late, so we'll see if they can keep.
A lot
that
of
going.
teams are,
a lot of teams,
yes, but they are too.
They have specifically killed Chicago for 6 consecutive years. It's pretty incredible what they've done there. So we'll see if they can continue that tonight on the on that front. We'll have the Rex rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. A lot of your thoughts to get to as well on our text line. Rexrode has done exhaustive and substantial research on the quarterback front, which he's very much looking forward to talking about. We will get into all that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out here on the program every morning. Joseph, after your exhaustive research, the floor is now yours.
What was the last thing they were talking about? Do you remember?
I don't remember anything we talked about.
Sounded interesting. I got a quick sub rant, okay? Because the Golden Hall yesterday with the Preds, and I'm reading Alex Doherty's story,
okay,
in the Tennessean. So I want to, we've got Poyle, Pekka, and Shea Weber. So Mike Fisher, during the ceremony, said he said that the Subban Weber was, quote, the worst trade in franchise history, end quote. Now I understand it's Shea Weber going to the Golden Hall, so that would be the place to say something like that. But he doesn't really believe that, does he?
I think he was joking. I think he was just kind of ribbing David Poyle.
Okay. All right. Okay. Because some people believe that.
I wasn't there.
Some people believe that.
I was on baby duty, so I couldn't tell you. But
so why you defended him? Maybe he wasn't
I
joking.
think he was joking.
Okay. I hope so.
I mean, maybe he was.
Because, remember how they got to the Stanley Cup final?
And he hated PK
and PK Subban was.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Golly, let me tell you. That trade just drove me up the wall.
But some Preds fans seriously think that. They do. You know that. We've had,
yeah.
All right. So let's get into the quarterbacks, because I do very much enjoy this. So like I said, I got 29 of 128, okay? I'm talking Super Bowl era. I'm talking.
How long did you spend on this?
Working, not that long.
Okay.
I found a list. So if you find a list, you find a list on the internet, then you're good, rather than having to go through each draft.
Okay.
So let's just rip through them. Okay. Bears, as we know, Justin Fields, and we're waiting on Caleb Williams, but let's go Justin Fields, Mitch Trubisky, Rex Grossman. I don't count Rex Grossman as working out. Yes, they got to the Super Bowl. No, did not work out. Cade McNown, Jim Harbaugh, also not working out. Jim McMahon, like I said, that's working out. I mean, they got the Super Bowl, and he was good. He wasn't great, but they won a Super Bowl with maybe the greatest defense ever.
How do you count him working out, winning the Super Bowl, but old Rexy took him
because he won it.
Okay.
That's my difference. I mean, in both cases, really, they weren't great players, but he won the Super Bowl and he wore his stupid little headbands, all his goofy messages and whatever. Bengals, Burrow, obviously, and Palmer. Before that, how about Akili Smith and David Klinger and Jack Thompson and Greg Cook? Bills, Josh Allen, heck yeah. Before that, E.J. Manuel, J.P. Lozman.
Oh.
Now, Jim Kelly gives them a 2 for 4, and 2 for 4 in this poll is real good. Broncos, Paxton Lynch, Tim Tebow, Jay Cutler, I give them a no on that. And he was pretty good with the Bears.
He was.
He hit. And then Tommy Maddox, UCLA legend. Browns, Baker Mayfield, I give them a no. Now, he was good there, and then they gave up on him, but that's not working out for the number 1 overall pick. And, of course, they'd love him back. But Johnny Manziel, Brandon Weeden, Brady Quinn, Tim Couch.
They drafted Brand Weeden in the first round? Oh, my goodness.
Sure did, 2012. Bernie Kosar, there's their 1, and Mike Phipps. The Bucks, Jameis, as we know, did not work out. I mean, we like Jameis, but no. Josh Freeman, Trent Dilfer, Vinny Testaverde, and then Doug Williams. I give them a yes on him. He was a very good quarterback with the Bucks. He won a Super Bowl later with Washington. He was a very good quarterback with the Bucks. He actually turned them from laughing stock into legitimate, decent team. So I give him a yes. Colts, Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning back-to-back. My goodness. There's 2. Before that, Jeff George, John Elway, who, of course, wouldn't sign with him, Art Schlichter, and Burt Jones. Do you count Kyler Murray as working out?
I mean, he's gotten a second deal.
I gave them a yes on him. But see, this is where I got 29 and 128, and this is the debatable one.
Yeah.
How about before that? Josh Rosen, Matt Leinart, Tim Rosenbach, Kelly Stouffer, and Steve Pisarkowitz.
I forgot about Josh Rosen.
Amazing run.
Yeah.
Chargers, I'm counting Justin Herbert as working out. Right now, he's taking a lot of crap. He was bad in the playoffs.
He was. He's still a good player.
He's a very good player, so I'm giving him that. Before that, Eli Manning, who doesn't because he wouldn't sign with him, all the stuff that happened to get him to the Giants. Ryan Leaf and Marty Domres. Now, the Chargers, as we know, have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. His name is Dan Fouts, a 3rd-round pick.
Of course.
Chiefs.
Did they not draft Rivers in the first round? I can't remember.
Well,
I guess they didn't.
Well, it was the Giants.
Oh, yes, that's right.
I mean, you could flip-flop and
Archie.
Yeah. All right, Chiefs, Mahomes, obviously. Before that, Todd Blackledge, Steve Fuller. Cowboys, Aikman, obviously. Before that, Steve Walsh. Dolphins, you count Tua? I don't.
No.
Tannehill? I don't.
No.
Marino? Yes. I'm giving Bob Greasy a yes because Bob Greasy, like Larry Zonka would tell you, all 53 times he handed it off to me, he put it right in the pocket, baby. All right, Bob Greasy. But we'll give him a yes.
Good for him.
And then Rick Norton. Eagles, Carson Wentz, Donovan McNabb. I give him a yes on him, and John Reeves. Falcons, Matt Ryan is a yes. Michael Vick is a yes. You agree with me or no?
I would say yes, but
it's yes-ish.
It's yes-ish.
And this is the thing. Like, we're going through this, and again, I got 29 working out, and we've already had a few that don't. Then we also have Chris Miller.
Michael Vick took a little bit of a vacation for a while.
Right. Yes. So, I mean, that's a close one. Chris Miller, Steve Bartkowski, Randy Johnson. Steve Bartkowski, apologize, Steve Bartkowski. He was a pretty good quarterback, but no. Alex Smith, number 1 overall pick for the Niners. Jim Druckenmiller and Steve Spurrier. My God. Giants, Daniel Jones. Hell no. Phillip Rivers. So, again, that's, the flip-flop. Dave Brown. Phil Simms is a yes. He was good. They won a Super Bowl. He counts. Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence. Right now?
No.
I'm not counting him. I'm giving him the possibility. Blake Bortles, Blaine Gabbert, Byron Leftwich. Leftwich close. I mean, he was pretty good for a while, but no.
Yeah.
Jets. My goodness. Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold, Mark Sanchez, Chad Pennington, Ken O'Brien, and Richard Todd. Give me a big offer with the Jets.
Gracious.
Lions, Matthew Stafford. I'm giving them a yes. They weren't good, but he was very good with them.
Yes.
Even though it was later, I give them a yes. Joey Harrington, Andre Ware, Chuck Long, Greg Landry. Your Packers, Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, both yes to me. Now, it's early for Jordan Love, but I'm counting that as a yes. Then you go Rich Campbell, Jerry Taggy, and Don Horn. Panthers, Cam Newton, yes to me. I mean, he won an MVP and he won a Super Bowl. It was short-lived, but yes. And then Kerry Collins. Patriots, Drew Bledsoe, no. He was good. I mean, Bledsoe's debatable. He got replaced. I mean, he was good. I'm saying no.
I think I'd go yes.
Okay. Well, if you go yes, then we make it 30. Then Tony Eason and Jim Plunkett, no. Plunkett later with the Raiders. Raiders, oh my goodness. Jamarcus Russell, Todd Marinovich, and Mark Wilson. What a glorious history. Rams, Jared Goff is, I mean, I count him as a yes. I mean, he was good. I mean, they got to the Super Bowl. They gave up on him, but
I think he's a no.
You think he's a no?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm back to 29.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. And then Sam Bradford. Ravens, Lamar Jackson, obviously, but again, like this is where it's like the end of the first round. And then I also gave him a yes for Joe Flacco. I mean, Joe Flacco, They won a Super Bowl, right? And then Kyle Bowler, my goodness. Saints, Dave Wilson, Archie Manning. Archie's a yes. They were bad. Archie was very good. Seahawks, Rick Meyer and Dan McGuire. Remember, Russell Wilson was a second-round pick. No, third. He was a third-round pick. Okay? Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger and Terry Bradshaw, 2 huge yeses. Mark Malone, a big no. Texans, Deshaun Watson and C.J. Stroud, I think we're going to give them a yes. Deshaun and David Carr. I said no on Deshaun Watson. I mean, he was really good for a couple of years, and then all the crap happened.
Yeah, his is hard because he was really, really good.
And we all thought it was like, this guy's on his way to being great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's got to go
I'll go no, yeah.
Titans, Mariota, Locker, Vince Young, Jim Everett, Dan Passerini, and, of course, the one who did work out, Steve McNair.
Yes.
One in the history.
And again,
Dan Passerini was a pretty good quarterback.
And, again, keep in mind, we're talking first-round picks here.
These are only first-round picks. Vikings, we're waiting on the latest guy, but Teddy Bridgewater, Christian Ponder, Dante Culpepper, I gave him a yes, and Tommy Kramer. Washington, right now, I think Jaden Daniels is going to give him a yes, but Dwayne Haskins, RG3, Jason Campbell, Patrick Ramsey, Heath Schuler.
Shout out to Heath.
VFL. So there's your list. I mean, so what does it prove? Doesn't prove anything, but it's just a good reminder. A lot of these names I mentioned at the time they were drafted, there was a lot of certainty that it was going to go well. And again, you're 1 for 5, basically, if you take a quarterback in the first round of working out to some extent. And some of these yeses are, again, like okay guys who were on great teams. Jim McMahon, I gave a yes. He was a pretty good quarterback on an incredible team. I probably shouldn't give him a yes, but he won the Super Bowl.
Right.
So
you hate Rex
But
Gross.
that's my argument is that if you, he sucked. That's my argument, which is that you get a good quarterback, you get a great team. If the Lions win it all this year, especially, that just strengthens the argument, you know? I mean, and there's plenty of examples of not elite, not generational quarterbacks who have rings on their fingers.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's easier.
You want the guy.
It's easier with the guy.
You want that guy. Of course you do.
Yeah. I mean, look,
they're not available this year. I don't think they are.
We keep talking about everybody else. I mean, there's still a pretty high likelihood that the guy that continues to win all the time wins again this year, right? Like Mahomes. They just go out there and they roll one off again, and it's 3 in a row.
Squeak out another one.
Yeah,
sure.
like it's very possible that could happen. But again, like I've also heard this: how many times are you going to have the chance to pick number 1 overall? You have to pick a quarterback when you get it. And I just don't. I think that's a really good way to get yourself in a world of trouble if you operate.
It's a great way to miss out on great football players.
Yeah. I think it's a really good way to get yourself in a world of trouble. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll be joined by Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports. Coming up next, we'll get his thoughts on all things Tennessee Titans and a very busy time in the NFL as well. Robby and Rexrode presented by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Charles Robinson up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby and Rexrode, sponsored by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. We head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in the great Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports. Charles, good morning. How are you?
What's going on, brothers?
Not a lot, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us on the program today. There's a lot going on around here. Charles, the Titans are deep in the search of a general manager, and they've got some impressive names on that list, whether it's Ian Cunningham or John Eric Sullivan or Mike Margonzi. Lots of decisions still yet to be made for the Titans. Meanwhile, they've not done anything with their coaching staff. We know Brian Callahan is coming back based on the comments from Amy Adams-Strunk, but expected some staff changes, which to this point have not yet taken place. So kind of in limbo on a lot of fronts for the Titans. So I guess we'll just start on the GM part of this. What do you make of some of the names that have made the list for the Titans and the search here, and where do you ultimately think this goes?
I think John Eric Sullivan raised some eyebrows. I had a couple of personnel guys, including a GM, who said that if they were going to handicap it, they thought that he makes sense in the general manager role, just from the standpoint of Brinker wanting to recreate what he knows in terms of how the Green Bay Packers worked, maybe how they evaluated players, maybe their grading system, a number of different things. But also, when you look at John Eric Sullivan's background, similar to Brinker in terms of his lengthy tenure in the Packers franchise, how he worked his way up really from scouting roots. One general manager in particular said, it looks to me like when Brinker was working for Russ Ball in the Green Bay Packers organization. He's like, it would feel like a very similar setup between Chad Brinker and John Eric Sullivan. And I think it leans into what we talked about last week. Go and get your guy who you think can be your scout. And, your chief scout, your scouting czar, your guy who can run all aspects of your front office. And I'm not saying that, obviously the Titans have asked for multiple second round interviews with other guys, but I will say that, and I brought up Ian Cunningham to you guys last week. Obviously that unfolded, but John Eric Sullivan is the one that I can tell you very prominently. Once that transpired, there were a number of front office guys that are like, yeah, that makes sense. This is how, Packers guys who leave the nest typically like to run their operations, as they go and they get someone else who they trust and who really understands how things work in the Packers organization. And look, frankly, there's been a lot of success. There's been some failures in Green Bay with the draft process, but they've also gone out and got a number of really talented guys. If Christian Watson stopped getting hurt, Jaden Reed would actually catch the ball. There are a number of great the choir. A lot of things to feel good about, with the Packers and picks that they've made in recent years. So, I keep a really close eye on John Eric Sullivan, but I wouldn't say right now that I would necessarily handicap a favorite, just because they're being very thorough with their second interviews, which is pretty interesting.
All right. So what's weirder, Charles? The idea of a 3-14 team not making any changes on the coaching staff, or a team that's going to make changes on a coaching staff waiting for like 2 weeks after the season to do so?
I don't think it's weird, actually, especially not without a general manager in place. And the reason why is I think we'd be naive to think that the front office and Chad Brinker and the next general manager aren't going to play a role in maybe some of those coaching staff changes.
But why does Brinker need the new guy to chime in? He is fully aware of what happened this year. He was here.
I don't know, Joe. Why wouldn't you want everybody in place that's going to have a lead role in your organization? Do you think the next general manager is not going to be important?
I do, but I think that this is one of those things that, like, the adults in the room now can probably. Don't these coaches? Shouldn't these coaches have an opportunity to go get other jobs while other people are putting their staffs together if they're going to be fired?
Okay, sure, absolutely. But you also don't know what other assistant coaches are going to be available. You have no clue in terms of some of these teams that are still in the playoffs. you have no clue who's going to come free. Who knows? The Philadelphia Eagles make changes in their coaching staff all the time. They fall short of the Super Bowl. They could frag some guys. Maybe there's some valuable guys on the Eagles coaching staff that are like, hey, it might be tipping there, and we might want that person, but let's wait before we fire who we have in place, who maybe we value, but do we feel like we have to do our due diligence and upgrade if we have opportunities? Yeah, I'm not saying it's great to lock up guys and not allow them, an opportunity to go out there and find other jobs. But first and foremost, you have to worry about your operation. And if there are guys in place who you do value, but you also think you might be able to upgrade from down the line, you have to do what you have to do. It's not great. I mean, look at what Jerry Jones did to Mike McCarthy. Told the Bears to kick rocks and then let Mike McCarthy go anyway. Did nothing. And he did that when he knew he wasn't going to be retaining Mike McCarthy. Not only did that, really put Mike McCarthy in a bad spot, put his coaching staff in a bad spot as well. So it's not a great part of the organization. It can be frustrating. Like, I get it, but let's not all pretend that the general manager coming in here isn't going to be influential in the process in some, way, shape, or form. And let's not also pretend that maybe they add a candidate who could sit down and say, well, you know what, I'm coming out of this organization. Here are a couple of guys that aren't necessarily graduated into certain assistant coaching positions, or maybe one of them has the opportunity to be the assistant head coach. I mean, there's different ways you can elevate certain guys and offer them jobs and get away with it. I just don't. I think you don't have all the parts in play right now in terms of your front office. And frankly, Brinker has to worry about his future. He has to worry about his organization's future. And the Titans went, and I hate to say it like this, but they went. Like you saw the record, right? I mean, what does he owe those coaches right now? Frankly, what does he owe them? I mean, it's not a 14-3 team, Joe. It's not a team that went to the playoffs. It's not a team that created a Super Bowl window under Rand Carthon. Brian Callahan will be the first to tell you he's not happy with the results that he ultimately got this season. What he owes to anybody right now is to the owner, to the fan base, and everyone else to make the team the best he can possibly make it. And if that means hanging on to these coaches a little bit longer, that's what he's got to do to get his general manager in place. And then also look at, what other elements change on other coaching staffs and availabilities that take place.
Charles, a pro suit, anti-coach. Good to know. All right. I'll take this into account moving forward.
Joe, it's not. There's why are we? What are we not? Let's adults.
Are you wearing a suit right now? Do you have a vest?
Why are we pretending like the NFL is this soft, happy play? Hey, look, you got a head coach.
No, I just think the timeline's all strange.
Stop, Joe. You had a head coach that went out there and blasted his quarterback a couple of times, right? And I was like, yeah, do that. Be tough. Go out there, say the things that you need to say. Don't pussyfoot around and be like, oh, I got to worry about his feelings. No, it's business. It's business. Perform, do your job, do what you're expected to do, and then move forward, okay? If the coach can do that with his players, the general manager can do that with the coach and his coaching staff. It's business. Like, I don't understand why we feel like we got to get into this mode where we're like, oh, but what about their feelings? What about it's part of the job. They know when they sign contracts, this can happen. It's not great. And they can absolutely hold it against Chad Brinker in the future. 100%. That's also business. So if they get jettisoned and they go elsewhere and the new staff says, hey, we want some intelligence on the Titans. What do you know about the operation? What do you know about the playbook? What do you know about these players? What do you think those coaches are going to do? They're going to go, code of honor. There's omerta. I can't tell you, no, they're going to go, this guy stinks. This guy's soft. Hey, if they cut that guy, he's actually really good, but the position coach doesn't like him. Are you kidding me? Like, they're not going to honor anything when they're elsewhere, nor should they. They should do what's best for them. It's a rough time right now for staffs. It's not good. I feel for guys, just like I told you, I feel for McCarthy and what happened with Dallas. And that only made McCarthy look better because he took the high road. through that whole, crap show. And, you just got to move on. But this is the fallout from having a bad record. So fallout from not meeting expectations. You leave yourself open to realities that are not always convenient to you and your families, but that's life in the big city. I mean, this is the NFL.
So on the Cowboys front, you bring them up, and obviously there's been conversation this week about Deion Sanders, and could he potentially be a fit for the opening for head coach with Dallas? Number one, what do you make of that? How realistic do you think it is? Do you think that he said before he'd want to coach Shador, so we'll see what that looks like. They've obviously just signed Dak Prescott to a huge contract. So what do you make of the fit when you add all those things up between Deion Sanders and the Dallas Cowboys?
I think the whole story is hilarious. I really do. I think it's an absolutely hilarious story right now because, number one, this is exactly the kind of thing that Jerry Jones would do when he's held Mike McCarthy through the expiration of his contract. He can now no longer interview all these coaches that he could potentially add as head coaches. He can now no longer interview any of them until they're out of the playoffs. So for some of these staffs, he could be waiting all the way through the Super Bowl. I think it's exactly Jerry's style to drag the spotlight back to Dallas when it, from all intents and purposes, anyone you talk to in the organization that's willing to speak right now will tell you it seems like Jerry's just going on his gut. That they're not entirely sure who he's leaning on, who he's calling, where he's potentially coming up with these names. And then when the Deion thing comes up, what I thought was funniest about this, it was the most ambiguous description of a phone call I've ever heard of in my life. Well, it's very intriguing. How you gotta know that's an intriguing job. And really, were you offered the job? Were you asked to interview? Did Jerry tell you were a candidate? Like I don't know that just because Jerry called Deion, maybe he called Deion to ask him about other candidates. I mean, it was a completely,
or to ask him about Shador.
Or to ask him about Shador. I mean, it's a completely opaque description of what happened. And all we know is Jerry called Deion. Maybe they talked about the job, okay. They talked. Well, what does that mean? What exactly did they talk about? Did Jerry ask you what you would think about taking the job? Did Jerry ask you if you would leave Colorado to come and coach the Dallas Cowboys?
Did Jerry say he'd pay your buyout?
Yeah, that's another thing. There's a multitude of questions to be asked there. None of them, to me, are clear. And it feels like Jerry doing his Jerry thing, which is to once again drag the spotlight back to Dallas in the middle of this hiring rotation when they've missed an opportunity to free up Mike McCarthy early and his staff early and go out and attack those interviews when they had the opportunity during the bye week with some teams, and they didn't do it. So this is sort of where they're at. It's a story that bothers me, and really, look, beyond that, the biggest proponent of Deion Sanders being a quality NFL head coaching hire are Deion Sanders and Michael Irvin. Those are the two individuals that have driven this hardest and deepest into the media than anyone else out there. I do not hear from a multitude of teams, got to go get Deion. Man, he's at the top of our list. Man, Deion's, that's if he's available, absolutely got to go and get him. Is he someone who's interesting? Sure. Is there a level of intrigue? Absolutely. Can he do some of the things on the NFL level that he did at the college level? A lot he can't. The portal costs a lot more money in the NFL, and there are restrictions. Everybody's got Louis. Like this is just not a one for one, comparison. And if Deion turns out to come to the NFL and be an absolutely great coach, it'll be a lot of fun to watch. It'll be great for everyone in the media. But right now, this whole fervor is so it is so generated by Deion and Michael Irvin, and then this owner whose entire aim, and probably the best job he's done in the last 30 years is creating fervor around his team.
Such a hater today. I'll give you a chance now with Mike Vrabel and his tenure with the New England Patriots.
I'm so irritated this deep into the cycle. I really am. Like, it's just, I get so sick of the, the games that end up getting played. I'm sorry. What did you ask about Mike Vrabel? Who has the final say in New England? But
just everything, Vrabel, the whole thing, it looks, Ryan Cowden's coming in there, which obviously he was tight with him here. So I think that's interesting. I'm very intrigued.
A guy that learned.
Yeah, very intrigued.
A guy that learned to me.
I'm very intrigued by, what he's going to do at OC. There's around here that, we've got conspiracy theorists who seem to think this was all the plan all along a year ago. Like Gerard Mayo was just, he was toast for 1 year, no matter what. And that they were going to get Vrabel. I mean, there's a lot of things about this, but of all those things I touched on, hit the most interesting one to you.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I don't think it was the plan because he came too close to getting the Chargers job last year.
That's what I tell people, but they don't want to listen.
Yeah. No, he was the second can. Like, he was the guy. Like, if Harbaugh had turned the Chargers down, I am 98% sure the Chargers offer that job to Mike Vrabel and he takes it. They were overjoyed with the process with him. They were really, really impressed with his interview. The people around Mike Vrabel were like, he's really got a shot at this job. I remember having a conversation with one individual who's, known Mike for 2 decades. And I was like, it's irrelevant. Like, it's clearly going to Harbaugh. Like, that's absolutely when, Harbaugh passing on the Denver job doesn't mean he's not going to end up with the Chargers. And so to me, I kind of wrote it off. But what happened that I didn't know about until, far later was that the Chargers called them after they hired Harbaugh. And they told him, look, we want you to know how great this was. And we want you to know how much we really liked you. And essentially, effectively told him it was your job. Like, if it had not been Jim, you were our guy. So that kind of throws a wrench into, Mike was just going to sit out the rotation, wait for Gerard Mayo to get fired, which, by the way, is an absurd gamble because what if Gerard Mayo had done a good job?
Yeah.
What if they had won 10 games? Then
that was the plan, right? That he'd be good.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah. That's so Mike's going to gamble on his future and go, yeah, well, let's just, wait and see. And Gerard's going to stink and that'll all come together. Like, conspiracy theories are always hilarious to me because it takes anywhere between 17 and 400 things to go the way they're supposed to. And then it would have happened or that's how it ultimately came to be. No, it wasn't. I mean, it was this opportunity. Absolutely. Do I think that had Mayo not been hired a year ago, Mike would have ended up in New England? Yeah, I probably do think that. But they made the commitment that they made to Gerard. They were going to go through the process. And I'm sure they knew, probably for Mike himself or someone, who's in Mike's circle, you're not going to get another shot at me. I'm taking a job this round. So this is it. And I'm almost, I will just tell you, I'm certain that played a role in Gerard Mayo losing his job there. In terms of what's unfolded since, all this has come to fruition, New England, I see a guy who clearly learned from what happened in Tennessee and was like, not going to have this happen again. And I told you before, his top criteria, number one, it was going to be, what's my connection with the owner? Do I trust the owner? Is the owner going to stick by me through thick and thin? Is the owner going to, undercut me at some point when it comes to the front office? I think there were a litany of things that he wanted established up front. He had that in place with the Crafts. There were some red flags with the Crafts and what happened with Mayo, yes, but still it was better than leaning on Mark Davis doing the right thing or any multitude of other jobs, Gail Benson. Like, you don't know with these other teams that he could have gotten what he wanted. And I told you before, Cowden was going to be like the guy. Like, he was absolutely going to go after Ryan Cowden. I knew that from the start. And I think the thing that's important is when Kraft said, I'm not going to fire Elliott Wolf. I'm not going to make these wholesale changes in personnel because he still has a belief in what those guys can go out and do. When Mike said, I have to have Ryan Cowden in the operation, and I have to have final say, he got it. And you can look at that one of two ways. You can say, okay, Elliot Wolf's knees are cut off and eventually he leaves because he feels like he has no power. We'll see. We got to see how the next draft unfolds. Or you can look at it from the standpoint of the Denver Broncos. When Sean Payton went in, everyone said George Payton's getting fired. It's absolutely going to get fired. And ultimately what happened was the owner, Mike Penner, was like, from the jump with Sean, was like, I want you to know George Payton's a general manager. He's going to be here. It's not going anywhere. When Sean went in, does Sean have final say? You can debate it. They do everything Sean wants, right? So Sean goes in. You might as well say he has final say because they literally do everything he wants from a personnel standpoint. He goes out and he gets an assistant head of college scouting from the New Orleans Saints a year later, which gives him another conduit into the front office. And so far, everything's run smoothly. But there's always the possibility that Sean could make whatever move he wants and get the general manager installed that he wants in Denver. And I think you could say that's what exists now in New England. I would say Elliot Wolf's on the clock. We'll see how things go. If he can go out and get the players that Mike wants and that Mike's staff wants, then I think it's possible he can stick around. And one thing I will say about Vrabel, I don't know if you guys agree with it or not. I will say that he does have this reputation when you talk to other coaches and even personnel people out there. Mike does have more of an open mind than maybe people give him credit for. And if he feels like Elliot is on the team and Elliot is doing what he wants and bringing, talent to the table that he looks for that fits the culture, like I've been told by people, he could keep him around. Absolutely. A year from now, he could go, yeah, actually everything's running fine. We don't have problems here. I don't have to have this guy displaced and Ryan Cowden become the general manager if things are working. Will that, hold for 5 years? I don't know that. But I've had people who have straight up just said, don't assume Mike's just going to frag Elliott in a year when he gets the opportunity. If he gets the opportunity, if Elliott does a good job, Mike thinks he fits the culture and what they're trying to do. And Mike has final say anyway. He doesn't have to remove the guy as long as he's helping and not hurting. In terms of the offensive coordinator, I personally think it's going to be Josh McDaniels just because I know how much Mike trusts him. Josh can take Mike's criticism. Like Josh is used to dealing with Bill and Bill being extremely harsh on him in every possible way. And I think he has the kind of chin that can take it from Mike. And even though Josh has never
That's what I want to know, see. You can take the abuse of the head coach. Great.
He's never been a good head coach, Joe. Never.
Well, I know.
But he's been a good offensive coordinator. Mac Jones had the best year of his career under one OC, Josh. Cam Newton
prefer Matt
was
Patricia.
having a pretty good year for Josh until he got hurt and got COVID. Okay? Like Cam actually was playing solid football. Looked like he could have a potential bridge future in New England. And, some of the injuries popped up, the COVID thing popped up, and it completely derailed Cam. Tom, who was not the easiest quarterback to deal with for decades, like he swears by Josh as being an offensive coordinator that helps you grow, helps you advance as a player, takes your crap, can help shape the scheme around you. So we can say whatever we want about McDaniels being a terrible head coach, and I won't fight that. It's the evidence is the evidence. But as an OC, he's been a really, really good coordinator, as have a multitude of former Bill guys who have tried to leave the nest, but found their best job is really in a supporting actor role.
Charles Robinson joins us every Thursday morning at 8 o'clock here on the program. Charles, great stuff today. A little feisty. I like it. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, I want to ask Joe real quick. Hey, Joe, how many first-round quarterbacks are in the playoffs right now out of the 8 teams?
A lot of them are, but they also most of them aren't. A lot of them aren't with their first teams though, and that's
Sure.
part of this too, right?
Sure. 7 of 8 though. I will just tell you 7 of 8. And even though first-round picks don't necessarily work out with their initial team, if they work out with the next team, it means the previous team failed. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I would still also put Lamar as it was the very end of the first.
He's a
round.
first rounder.
I know, but like if the Ravens loved him that much, then why did they wait?
wait.
They kind of lucked out, right? Come on.
So when you're 60 in a day, you're like, no, I'm really 39 in 366 days, or I'm really 59 in 366 days. I'm not really 60.
I may have to
Come
use
on,
that.
Man. Stop it. They're first round picks if they go in the first round. Let's just stick to that, okay? Or do you want to have another conspiracy?
No, that's
about
fine.
How the 32nd pick isn't actually a first round pick?
That's fine. That's fine. We've learned a lot about you today.
Wow.
Preference
Wow.
for suits.
Wow. How about that? Charles taking shots. Charles receiving shots here on the program.
All right, love you guys.
I got kind of smoked
Thank you,
today.
Charles.
Thanks, Charles.
Appreciate it. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, our guest on Robby and Rexrode. We'll react to what Charles had to say. Interesting point about Vrabel and the Chargers there, too, which we'll get into. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, sponsored by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/getitall. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keys are here with you on this Thursday morning. We're live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Oh, with a $99 yearly Beehive membership with a buzz is always about great service. Appreciate Charles Robinson for being with us in the last segment.
Yeah, what a guy.
He's ready to get people out of here. He ain't worried about nobody else.
Like someone on the texture said, never, ever, ever work for Charles Robinson. That's a good point. Yeah, you can just sit there for a while. Just think about what you've done, and I'll let you know if you have a job or not at some point.
I guess when you think about it, it really does make sense. It is professional sports. It still doesn't explain to me here's my problem with the whole thing as it relates to the coaching staff. Like you've chosen to keep Brian Callahan here for better or for worse. We'll see what it looks like. So if Brian Callahan is going to be here, shouldn't Brian Callahan really have final say on what his staff is going to look like? Otherwise, if you don't trust him to do that, why is he still here?
Well, yeah, but if something's going to be dictated to him, again, Dwight Schrute doesn't need to do that. Like Chad Breaker's here.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
What
PK said may be right.
I'm way less concerned with it is a cutthroat business. I'm way less concerned with Colt Anderson getting fired and going to find a job elsewhere because I'm not sure that exists elsewhere for him right now. But that's the part of it that I can't quite make sense of. Brian Callahan talked at this point 10 days ago or whatever it was about meeting with the coaching staff and making decisions on that moving forward. Does he not need to be the one making a decision on that? And if not,
it sound like he was.
Right. So what are you waiting on if that's the case? Now, maybe it is as simple as, they don't feel like they have to be in a rush and they're looking around and seeing what becomes available across the rest of the league. But it's weird to me. I thought the day after the season, Colt Anderson would be fired at minimum. I thought that would be the minimum at what would happen.
I figured that week.
Yeah.
Yeah, at some point. But Charles says it's not weird. So, okay. It's not weird. Not weird to Charles.
He's a little spicy in that one. I liked it.
Yeah.
Really good stuff on the Vrabel part of this too, particularly as it relates to was this the plan the whole time with Vrabel and the Patriots? Apparently the Chargers really liked Mike Vrabel, according to what Charles threw out there.
Yeah. And again, the part about it that bothers me more is this idea that Robert Kraft just expected this to happen with May. I think the biggest thing is that you could say is a slight conspiracy or whatever is I definitely think that Kraft looked around and said, this is our chance to get Vrabel, so if we're going to do it, we're going to do it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. That I totally buy. But again, that's going back a year. You don't know what's going to happen with a lot of different things. Also, I found it interesting that Charles, thinks Josh McDaniels is a good OC. Some people agree. He's right that Brady has definitely said many positive things.
I'm not going to sit here and say that I discount what Tom Brady has to say about it, but Tom Brady makes a lot of people look really good. Okay. So look, Tom Brady clearly loved working with Josh McDaniels. So there's stock that you put in that. I think the other part of what Charles said probably speaks better for McDaniels than the Brady part of Mac Jones having a really good year with Josh McDaniels as the OC.
It's fair. I still can't believe that Belichick went with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge to run his offense. My God. And the thing is,
what I'm saying though, Brady's Brady.
Oh, of course.
A lot of OCs look pretty good with Brady.
Well, yeah, no, that's how I feel too. I also think that because of things like Bill Belichick saying Matt Patricia is he's not really the OC, but he's just kind of drawing up plays over there. There's going to be an outcry of anger if Vrabel does go with Josh McDaniels, whether it may be a good move and maybe it'll work out, but they're not going to like that, right? They're going to hate that.
I don't think they're going to like it. Now, we know how this works too. By the time camp rolls around, they'll talk themselves into it. Well, thank God Josh McDaniels is here because, he really is the secret behind Tom Brady's success.
Yeah. Well,
how this goes sometimes in these conversations, but
sure.
Yeah. I do think from what I've seen, and I'm not going to act like I'm plugged into Patriots Twitter or anything, but from what I've seen, I don't think they're particularly enamored with the idea of Josh McDaniels.
Yeah. No, that would be an early fan anger situation for Vrabel, but again, what does he care?
He does not. Let's head back to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Dave. Dave, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, good morning, guys. Found it interesting listening to Charles that he's not concerned with the Titans, making coaching decisions, and he's not concerned with their livelihoods of some of the assistant coaches, where they're going to work or whatever. But then he's really concerned about the Dallas coach, how he was treated. So what's the scoop? What does he believe in? Which area? Thanks.
Thanks for the call, Dave. I guess referring to the McCarthy situation in the way, I don't think he said that he was necessarily concerned.
His point there, as I took it, was that he's pointing out the contradiction there from Jerry.
From
right?
Jerry Jones. Yes.
Yeah, it was a criticism of Jerry,
knowing all along that the relationship was coming to an end.
Yeah, but not letting the Bears talk to him. I mean, that's stupid. But I mean, that's I hear what you're saying. Charles, I just think he's fine with anybody twisting in the wind and being fired at any point.
I hope this turns into a thing.
Turn in your TPS report today, Charles.
Charles,
I hope he's still listening.
The most cutthroat man in the National Football League. That's what we learned on the program today.
My goodness.
I have one more segment coming up next. Got a whole lot of your thoughts to get to on what Charles had to say. We'll get back into Rexrode's veteran QB take as well. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game.
Schrute is manager!
Welcome back in. Final segment of the day. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
We're keeping this going, man. This is
Yeah.
not going to die. This is going to continue.
Pretty good.
Titans would not like to suck berserker. We're going to keep that going, too.
We had some questions today on the text line about Quinn Ewers and what sort of a pro prospect we think he's going to be. I want to read this to you.
Okay.
Chip Brown just put this out there, who is an insider at horns247.com.
Oh, yes. He has broken Texas football news for decades.
Yes. So he says Quinn Ewers turned down an $8 million NIL offer to transfer when deciding to declare for the 2025 NFL draft.
Yeah, I don't believe that. And again, no offense to Chip Brown, but like he breaks Texas news. There are people out there just exaggerating the hell out of some of these things. And that happened with Miami too, and Carson Beck, by the way.
Yeah.
And then we got the actual number, which
That's
is still more than
year.
3. Is still, but the initial numbers that were floated out there were more than that. And
a 1-year deal for $8 million for
That's
Quinn
a bunch
Ewers.
of crap. There's because it just doesn't add up. First of all, I need to know like who would be possible in this situation.
Alabama.
I heard Alabama.
Yeah.
I heard some speculation about Michigan because they have the 5-star that they stole away from Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
But are they, is he ready next year, right?
Right.
But $8 million for Quinn Ewers.
Yeah. I wouldn't do it.
I can't get that. I just think that's people lying.
To answer the question about the what sort of a pro I think he's going to be, like I do not see Quinn Ewers as a starting NFL quarterback.
No.
That's just me. He was a good college player. And I think at times, like there were games he had this year, like even in the midst of a really good season for Texas, where you're just like, man, what is Quinn Ewers doing out there?
Yeah.
Like I think he's a good college quarterback.
He
I
played
don't
well
think he's an
last game.
NFL quarterback.
No, I agree. He's not an NFL starting quarterback. Charles continues to blow me up on this whole. Charles apparently hates coaches. Didn't know. Good to know though.
He's still sniping at you?
Well, his point is, the people always they cape for the coaches. Oh, these guys and they're they got to feed their families, got to move around. He's like, what about the coaches who just end the careers of these players? I'm like, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, it's a profitable, big money business, and it's whatever. It's performance and results based. That's all fine. I just thought it was a little weird. I'm not like sitting here like playing a violin for these guys. But I think it's just late to me. It feels very late.
Matthew in Nashville says, y'all talked a lot about what you think the Titans should do at number 1, but what do you think the teams around them are going to do? Like New England, the Raiders, the Giants, who will try to trade?
Well, that's so much about the quarterbacks, right? Especially with the Raiders and Giants. The Patriots, to me, they're just going to take the best player they can take. They can take a premium player up there, or all of them could trade back too. It's hard to know. The answer to that question comes down to which of these teams, if any, actually fully buy into either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, and that will dictate a lot of it.
Well, so Jacksonville and the New England's at 4, Jacksonville's at 5. You feel pretty good about neither one of those teams taking a quarterback. Particularly like New England's got Drake May and Trevor Lawrence is getting paid a boatload of money, so they're not taking a quarterback. What about the Jets? Like, what do the Jets do this offseason? They're at 7. Like, could they be interested in moving up to take a quarterback? What does New Orleans want to do? Like, New Orleans got a bunch of cap problems. Mickey Loomis talked the other day about he still believes in Derek Carr. Is that real, or is that just lip service at this point heading into an offseason? I don't know. We'll see. But, then the question starts to become, how far are you willing to move down if you're the Titans? Let's say the Jets are really interested, and the Jets get to the end of this. They hire their general manager, their head coach, and they're moving off from Aaron Rodgers, and they say, yeah, we got to move up to 1. We got to get in front of Cleveland and New York and get to the number 1 pick with Tennessee. Are you willing to trade down to 7 if you're the Titans at that point?
It's going to cost you.
Because you're not, and it's going to cost you a lot. Now, you could get a lot of draft capital back that way, but you're also at that point, you're not getting Abdul Carter, and you're not getting Travis Hunter if you do that.
Yep, it's going to go that far. it's going to be a pretty penny. But you want those options if you're the Titans, and you really hope. Again, the Titans may end up coming to the conclusion of one of these guys. Absolutely, this is the future.
Yeah,
but if not, you really hope someone else does.
Well, this is the benefit though of having the number 1 overall pick, because you dictate all this, right? Like, I mean, it's not like you're going to be forced into a spot that you don't want to be in. Like, at worst, if the trade options that you're looking for don't present themselves, you got your pick of the litter at the draft. You can take whoever you want.
Exactly.
So that's a good spot to be in if you're the Titans.
It is. One quick text here. Don't forget about Matt Castle. 11-5, 3,700 yards, 21 touchdowns under Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
Well,
you sold me.
We have come full circle on Josh McDaniels just on this program.
Just
in the last hour. He's
20,
awesome.
20 minutes.
Go get him, Braves.
That does it for us today. Chasing Big Joe coming up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.